Today's episode is about confidence. When it comes to growing or starting a business, confidence is queen. And check this out. A study by Cornell University found that men overestimate their abilities and their performance, while women underestimate both. An internal report from Hewlett Packard found that men will apply for a promotion or a job when they meet only 60% of the qualifications, whereas women wait until they meet 100% of those qualifications. So what holds us back from even applying? What holds us back from believing in ourselves and our unique abilities? Why are we so uncertain about what we bring to the table, and why do we feel like we have to be 100% perfect in order to even apply? Half a dozen studies, including the likes of Goldman Sachs and Columbia University, show that companies that employ large numbers of women outperform their competitors on nearly every measure of profitability. Duh, because we're awesome. And keep in mind, women's confidence is also about men being confident as well. This is an equal sum game. We're all up-leveling together. But here's the thing, there's still a massive confidence gap according to statistics, and only 7 countries in the entire world have equal rates of men and women-owned businesses. And while in the United States that is evening out, women-owned businesses still only account for 40% of new business startups. So what is it? What is it that holds us back, and how are we actually going to step into our confidence? Now, let me say that confidence doesn't mean you have zero self-doubt. In fact, sometimes having self-doubt is a sign that something is really big for you, something significant in your life, that you're actually tuning in to what your inner being knows you're capable of. But what we always have to ask ourselves is whether or not this doubt that we feel is coming from a place of something being really big and important, or is it from past experiences, from your childhood, from 10 years ago, from 2 days ago? Because you are not your past, and holding on to your past is the easiest way to remain stuck. And thank goodness we're not our past, because if we were our past, I would still have a mullet haircut like I did in the 4th grade when my mom gave me free reign over my hairstyle. Thanks, Mom. Okay, in all seriousness, one of the UK's largest parenting websites polled their audience, and 88% of moms admitted to treating their sons and daughters differently despite thinking that it was wrong. In this same poll, moms were twice as likely to admit being critical of their daughters more than their sons. So those components of taking risks and being brave, the very things that you need that are required to be your own boss and be an entrepreneur, those are things that women have to then relearn at a later age. Right? Do you have any memories of your childhood where you were criticized for doing things that you needed to be more perfect, more polished, more pleasant, whatever it was that held you back from realizing that you could take on the world? For me, I credit sports for being that arena that I was able to have personal growth, from swimming to basketball to soccer to Division I rowing, lacrosse, and even a full-on Ironman triathlon, and talk about taking risks, because only 80% of the racers that day finished the race. And in 14 and a half hours, I crossed that finish line as a new version of myself. And when I look back, just one generation, in my mother's generation, kids weren't able to play sports simply based on the gender that they were. And this is still happening in so many places in the world. Not to mention the way that mainstream media portrays women and girls, right? And so let's just say, for argument's sake, although I guess we're not really arguing here, that you were raised in this perfect environment that said that you were just as worthy as the boys and could go and do and be anything. You were then brought up in a world that doesn't universally prescribe to that idea. And so raise your hand if, as an adult, ladies, you've ever walked into some meeting or experience completely prepared, completely professional, only to be commented and talked to about your looks, the smile, what you're wearing, and to really just have your voice felt like it was less than powerful and less than important. And despite any of that, despite your past, whether that past was a long time ago, it was yesterday, or it was 10 minutes ago, you cannot let that hold you back. Nothing actually holds you back from the life you want to live other than the stories you allow to keep being true in your mind. And here's the thing about confidence is that most people feel like they need to have that confidence before they can take the act in their life that's going to get them what they want. But that's actually backwards. You see, it requires taking this messy, imperfect action to then build up the confidence, to know what it is that we're about, to know what it is to experience that next level and to create that momentum. So I want to share with you a story of one of the first self-made millionaires. And she grew up in a time where she could have felt completely worthless because she was the first in her family to be born out of slavery. I mean, really think about that. Think about the level of oppression, the feeling of worthlessness that she could have felt, knowing that all of her siblings were just property, right? But she didn't let that hold her back. And I really hope that Sarah Breedlove's story inspires you with what can happen when you believe in your future more than your past. I'm really excited to share this story with you. Sarah Breedlove was born on a plantation in Louisiana in 1867. And for context, that's more than a decade before the invention of electricity. Imagine what your life would look like if you couldn't turn on a light. She was born just 5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. This means that Sarah was the first child in her family to be born into freedom rather than slavery. By the age of 7, she was an orphan. By the age of 14, she was married to her first husband. And at the age of 21, she worked as a laundress, cleaning other people's clothes, earning barely more than $1 a day. And this sounds like a depressing story, right? But the thing is, this story doesn't end there. Sarah Breedlove later took the name Madam C.J. Walker. By 1911, Madam C.J. Walker had become the first woman self-made millionaire in American history and the founder of a beauty empire. This is a reminder to us that despite what society has laid out for us, despite being treated poorly in the past, we are capable of doing anything and everything we put our minds to. Madam Walker broke barriers. She built an empire because she saw that there was a need for hair products designed for African American women like herself. She uplifted thousands of other Black women who she employed as saleswomen and marketers. And not only did she train them on how to sell her products, but she also trained them on how to run a budget, how to build their own businesses, and how to be financially independent. It's really inspiring, and it's a reminder that confidence doesn't just show up on our doorstep one day. It's not just something that appears, it's something we have to fight for. And Madam Walker earned it, fighting for others. And I think the best way to sum up this story is in Madam Walker's own words. I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there, I was promoted to wash tub. From there, I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there, I promoted myself in the business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations. I built my own factory on my own ground. Confidence is about promoting ourselves and about promoting others. It's about building our own factories, whatever form that takes, on our own ground. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with our guest, Lindsay Mango. Lindsay Mango is a life coach and the creator behind the Anything But Average podcast and coaching program. Lindsay has helped hundreds of women build their dream lives, start businesses, quit their corporate jobs, travel the world, find love, make more money, get healthier, and become happier. I'm incredibly excited for her to be here today. When it comes to confidence, what do you feel from your purview now, where you have built what you love, and you're going to continue to expand on that? Mm-hmm. But you have women coming into your programs every day. Where's the struggle? Where are the top few things that you see them and you go, that's a pattern. That's why they're willing to say confidence.
Yeah, I think our brains are wired to look at the gap. They're wired to look at what we're not, or how we're not good enough, or what we don't have. And I mean, it literally is a function of the mind. It's meant to protect us. But I think about it, I teach them how to override that, to start looking at, what do you have? Well, how are you amazing? How are you enough? What do you have to offer? Because if you think about it, it's like your brain might be focusing on the 1% that like you don't have when there's like 99% of amazing stuff that you could be focusing on. So it's such a simple shift, but that pattern of like focusing on the gap and like shifting from the gap to like what you have in front of you and recognizing your greatness. And I think I kind of use it in another example. I think I'm like, there's two lawyers, I imagine, in our brains. There's like a lawyer that's fighting for like how amazing you are and like all of the amazing stuff you have to offer the world. And then there's a lawyer who's fighting for all of the things that you're not.
Right.
And I always talk about how like usually we're just feeding this lawyer with tons of like evidence instead of finding evidence for the other lawyer that's going to help us create the life that we really want. And so really like shifting to look at where, like I said earlier, where are you amazing? What do you have to offer the world? And like, how is there evidence of that already instead of feeding the lawyer that's like kind of beating you down?
Yeah. That's a new approach to the little devils on your shoulder.
Yeah.
That you've seen as a kid, that comic.
Yes.
So that's incredible. I really feel like the key component too is the habitual process of doing that over and over again, because you could feel alive and like you're feeding the lawyer that says, great, we're taking your awesomeness all the way to the bank, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have those other days, and isn't it about creating that routine and that habit? For you, how do you keep or how do you inspire the women that you serve to create that pattern and the new habit of thinking, not just doing it once, but doing it over and over and over again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think part of it is, obviously I'm an advocate for coaching, but I just think like having a coach or having someone who's in your corner to constantly be helping like see the blind spots. Like when they're in a program, they know that they've hired me to help them see their blind spots over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that when they do want to give up, or when they are feeding the devil or the like lawyer who's not fighting for their cause, that I can show them that and point it out to them and help them make that simple shift. But I also think it's a matter of like being all in on the result that they want to create in their life. Like the question I always ask my clients is like, does it serve you to believe that? Like you might think it's true, but does it serve you to create the result that you want? And if it doesn't, we need to like go to work to find a new perspective. And so I think when someone's all in on what they really want, like they don't really need babysitting. They're going to be willing to do that work consistently too.
Yeah. What does being all in feel like?
Are you willing to do whatever it takes until the end of time to create the results that you want? If your answer is yes, then I think you're all in. If your answer is no, then I almost think about it like, I call it conditional commitment versus unconditional commitment.
Yeah.
So it's like your commitment is conditional upon feeling a certain way or getting a certain result, which isn't being all in, versus if it's unconditional, you'll do whatever it takes no matter what.
Yeah, and I like the component of time on there, because there's that phrase about how we tend to overestimate what you can do in the short term, so people disappoint themselves.
Yes.
But we're completely underestimating what we can do in the span of 5, 7, 10 years.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
Yeah. And I think that when you're committed to something until the end of time, then you're always going to figure it out. You're always going to figure out a new way, because this is the thing. There's going to be failure along the way. If you're going to go live a big life or do an amazing thing, like you are going to fail. Sun's going to be shining in on your interview and screwing it all out, right? Like there are going to be things. And if you're not all in, every single failure is going to be adding up in the back of your mind. Like, oh, this is the time I should quit. And every time that happens, you get closer and closer, instead of when you fail, if you're all in, it's just a learning opportunity and you just figure it out.
And I guess failure is all about how you define it.
Totally.
But I do like that you're saying that. And I think I've heard so many people talk about this sense. You actually share an instance where in your mind, you're like, well, that was a failure. We're going to learn from that and move on.
Oh my gosh. I think all the time. Like I literally, I think people expect that when you get to a certain level in business and life that you're just like done failing. Oh no. Like I feel like it just gets bigger. Like, and there's more stakes. Like if you're bigger, more people know, like you fail more publicly. Like there's so many things. I mean, I fail at hitting my goal right now. I'm failing to hit my goals. I failed to hit my goals the past like 6 months. And I think the biggest thing, there was a while where I was making it mean something about me, where I was letting it drag me down, where I was allowing it to really impact my confidence, because I was like, oh, like I'm old news, something bad is happening, something's gone wrong. And one of the biggest things I had to shift into was realizing that it really is learning, that I do know I'm going to get to my goal eventually, and that every single failure is getting me one step closer. And that is what totally transitioned how I was seeing the failure. And now I'm like, I literally celebrate it. I'm like, heck yes, I failed again. Like, look at how much I learned. It's only going to get better next month.
That's amazing. Did someone help you come to that conclusion, or
I mean,
reading amazing books? It's just
me. No, I'm kidding. No, I think it's a combination of things. Like, I have a coach, and she's been coaching me really hard on my mind. And then I do spend a lot of time like thinking about clients, thinking about my results, thinking about what's getting in my way. And I just really started to realize that my self-concept and like who I was and my confidence was being like based off of my results. So I think it just was a combination of things, but
yeah,
it really like
oriented sports people are like, this is my trophy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're like in an imaginary race and you don't even know who you're racing with. Like, yeah, totally.
Right. That's amazing. So tell me about your program. Anything but that.
Yeah. So it's a program where I teach women how to master their mind, master themselves, and master their action. So what does that actually mean? I mean, we talked about it a little bit today, but focusing on your mind is like, you know, this, like the engine. I think about it like, I'm trying to think of a better, like more feminine example, but I'm like, whatever, we'll just use cars. I think of your mind as like the engine. Yourself is like the actual car, and the action is like the gas pedal. So we're taking the three most important components of ourselves and mastering it to create results in their life. So what's really cool is it's a different program in that we have women in there who come in who want to lose weight and like hit their fitness goals. We have women who want to find their purpose and launch their business, women who already have businesses. I mean, really the whole goal of it is to help women create anything but average lives. Like lives where in every single way, like they're mind blown by the life that they're living and creating. And so it's that process over and over again to create like results in every single area of their life.
That's huge, as defined by themselves.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
I think shaking off that societal voice or your parents' voice or your neighbor's voice, probably not your dog's, but you get my point. Shaking off that voice that says this is what your life should look like if you are a success. As we round this out, what advice do you have for the woman sitting on her couch just wondering if she's got what it takes to really pursue her dreams?
It wouldn't be on your heart if you weren't meant to do it. Like, I feel like it wouldn't even be in your awareness if there wasn't something you were meant to bring into the world. And so many women think that, like, I shouldn't do it. It's already been done. But to me, every single woman has a unique factor, a unique thing about her that no one else is bringing to the industry or whatever thing they want to bring into the world. And that's why they have it on their heart to do it.
Yes, that's brilliant, because that gets to the root of what so many people say. That's saturated, already been done. So
it's not saturated because there's no you in the industry. Like, there's nobody who does it the way you do it.
Yes. Well, I hope you guys have heard that. I hope it sinks in for you. Thank you, Lindsay, so much. It was an incredible interview.
Thank you for helping me. Woohoo!
Well, this brings us to that point in the show where we are appreciative for the inspiration and the inspiring stories, and now it's time for you to take action. I'm really excited. Let's roll up our sleeves, if you're wearing any. And let's take action towards your goals right here, right now. So I want you to take a journal, or if you don't have one, just speak these answers out loud. Or if you feel more comfortable, just speak them to yourself inside your heads, okay? I'm gonna ask you a series of rapid questions, and I just want you to go with the first thing that comes to mind. Don't overthink this, all right? Are you ready? Okay. First, I want you to think about your life, because it's not business first, it's life first, okay? What do you want in your life? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What do you think is holding you back from having that life? Is it possible that it's a story you're telling yourself, or a story that was given to you, or a story that you keep repeating? Are you willing to rewrite that story? And if so, how will you rewrite it? Okay, part 2. Now, these are questions about your business. Again, I know this is super fast, but I just want you to answer the first thing that comes to mind, because often things that come from our gut and are inspired from within us are the answers, and then we spend a lot of time trying to talk ourselves out of that later. All right, so here goes. These are questions about your business. At the heart of all business is serving others, making an impact, and solving problems. I want you to ask yourself, what impact in the world do you want to make with your business? First thing that comes to mind. What do you think is holding you back from making that impact? Is it possibly a story you've been telling yourself, or a story that's been handed to you that's keeping you stuck? And are you willing to rewrite that story? And if so, how will you rewrite it? Now, I know these questions, this experience right now has been super fast, but it's meant to give you this ability to start thinking about the stories you have been telling yourselves, and then the stories that you can tell yourselves, stories specifically that will honor your ability to follow your own dreams, be your own boss, run your own business. So now that we've done this, the best thing you can do is actually continue writing these down and expanding upon them, because it's proven that when you write down your goals, you're more likely to achieve them. So as we round out this first episode of the show, I'm incredibly grateful for you being here. No matter where you are, sitting in this country or sitting in this world, the fact that you've chosen this time to really sink into what is possible in your life is a big deal. Some of the biggest takeaways from this episode is that you really have to act. You have to take that first step, even if you are afraid, because that's what builds the confidence to keep going. The other thing we learned from our guests today and from our stories is that we don't have to accept a story that was handed to us, or even things that we've told ourselves over and over again throughout the years. Any opportunity, including right now, is a moment to create a new version of what's possible for yourself. And it all starts with what you tell yourself about what is possible. Thank you for joining us. It is such an honor. I'm your host, Paige Batcher. We'll see you on the next episode, where we look at the energy of money and abundance. See you then.